Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Weyburn City Council, held here at the Council Chambers, 5 p.m. Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. Hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. And we are coming into, this is the last council meeting of this council. After this, council is basically kind of held on suspension on there. Sorry about this. And you have to get all my things off. And they will, we will start here by first off the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting.
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
I'll second it, Your Worship.
Okay. Dick makes motion. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Additions to the agenda. Mr. Warren?
Worship, there's no additions from administration tonight. Thank you.
Council? Seeing none, move forward. Just before we move forward, I was going to say, kind of got interrupted there. This is the last council meeting. We will then have the swearing in of new council will be November 16th, and then we will, November 25th will be the next one, just so that everybody knows, and we'll probably say that again at the end of the meeting. Delegations and proclamations. First off, I'd like to turn this to Mr. Richards. We have our youth council introduction. We have our new youth council here, and if you swing the camera over, we can start introducing on there, starting with Grayson, I should say.
I'll read this.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just for clarification, I make this joke every year, so it never gets old. I'm 1 year past eligibility for the Youth Council, but I'm going to read this, though, to be part of it. We're proud of this, in fact, and I would say in all sincerity, the City of Weyburn Youth Council exists to encourage youth participation in the community, engage young leaders and volunteers of the future, and provide a mechanism for youth to communicate with City of Weyburn Council and staff. Weyburn Youth Council acts as an advisory position to Weyburn City Council. They provide feedback to City Council on issues that are important to youth in our community. Although our Youth Council doesn't vote on issues at regular council meetings, their recommendations are very seriously considered by City Council. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the members of this year's Youth Council. I'll start with our Youth Mayor, Jaylyn Hopstein. Next, our Secretary, Grace Labatt. You just want to put your hands up. Next, Councillor Greg Wiens, Councillor Dalton Molnar, and Councillor Grayson Nipple.
If you would, please, go ahead. Turn on the mic. You there?
Hello, City Council, City staff, and members of the public. My name is Jaylyn Hopstein, and I am Weyburn's Youth Mayor for 2020-2021. With me today are my fellow youth councillors, Greg Wiens, Grace Labatt, Dalton Molnar, and Grayson Nipfel. We are all students of the Weyburn Comprehensive School with different backgrounds, hobbies, and perspectives. These differences will help us talk about issues important to us that we plan to share with City Council at further meetings. As members of the Weyburn Youth Council, we hope our voice can make an impact and effect change in our community. Youth Council is a fun learning environment and has helped me grow as a leader. I'm excited to work with my fellow youth councillors and see what all we can do this year as a team. On behalf of Weyburn Youth Council, thank you for this opportunity and for letting our voice be heard.
Thanks, Jaylyn. I'm looking forward to this. Just so everybody knows, Jaylyn and Greg were with us last year. So they're sort of the elder statespeople of that youth council. We're looking forward to you guys for another year. So thank you, and thanks, Your Worship, for the opportunity to work with them.
Very good. Well, that was, and again, the new council coming in will also be introduced to them, and we'll have to whole new part of councils going. The next thing on delegations and proclamations, the Credit Union Spark Center presentation. And we have a group here So we're just going to give a minute for the youth council to leave. And if you turn it over to Mr. Crow.
Good evening, Your Worship. We're just having some technical difficulties here. Okay, so it's my pleasure to provide Council with another update on what is now known as the Credit Union Spark Center as we continue through our construction phase. This, I believe, is the 5th update that I'll be providing, and we've seen some big changes since the last time I was here. So June was my last presentation to Council, and since then we've seen our outdoor arena pour. Exterior envelope is now complete. The exterior landscaping is well underway. Asphalt paving is complete. Our interior drywall boarding and painting is well underway. All glazing is now installed. The artificial field prep is now complete. Our elevator has been installed, and most of our major mechanical and electrical equipment is now installed and actually starting to get fired up for testing. Coming up in the project, you'll start to see a lot of, well, you've already seen a lot of action outside. So all the landscaping, the concrete, the asphalt, everything to the exterior of the building needs to be completed before snowfall. That is because building turnover to us is in the middle of winter, so we have to be okay with the finished product outside. We also will be soon installing the indoor field turf surface. All of our rubberized flooring for the track and the leisure areas will be installed shortly. And actual construction of the facility of itself will be completed early in the new year. And then we will move into the commissioning stages to fire up all the systems, make sure everything's balanced before the building gets handed over to the city. So following the construction process, as I mentioned, we have a commissioning phase. And then there's actually a large amount of work that still needs to be done by the city for the next close to a year. So we are still on pace to open in September of 2021. To get to that point, though, we still are going to be required to finish off the outdoor arena, do the installation of the board package and the multiple different features of that space to make it multi-use. We have to do the purchase and the install of our indoor play equipment. Our simulator room and equipment still needs to be purchased and installed. And then, of course, we have to go through all the typical building fit up. We have to order in desks and chairs and all the odds and ends before we're able to open the building to the public. Then we have to also hire the staff that we are going to be required to operate the facility. And develop all the programs that we'll be running. So we have a very busy year ahead. So based just solely on construction of the facility for what is in contract, we are currently about 90% complete. Wright Construction has been on site for 616 days, and they have about 172 days remaining. So we're well on our way. As for now, we are on budget, and we are tracking on schedule to be complete as planned at the start of the project. So thankfully, throughout this process, we have been on the receiving end of some funds as well. So we've been able to secure some sponsorship and some donations for the facility. So the naming rights of the facility to Weyburn Credit Union for $1 million. The play and climb area to MNP for $150,000, and just announced here recently is actually a dressing room sponsorship was sold to Whitecap Resources for another $20,000. And then we've also been successful with some grants and federal funding. So far we've received $150,000 for the arts portion of the building, and $1.28 million from the federal gas tax that's been earmarked for this project. So altogether, we have currently raised about $2.6 million towards the project to go towards payback on our build. So as I've done with every project update, I just have some pictures from around the facility. Our PR coordinators have actually also come for a walkthrough with me of the building and are going to be posting a video online shortly, so any member of the public can go on and take a video tour of where we're at with the project. And actually, it's playing right now in the lobby outside if you wanted to take a peek at it after the meeting. So this is just the exterior of the building, so some things are coming together, and this was, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and we've already seen significant progress since this was actually taken. The front entranceway, this is where our offices and the front desk will be located. One cool feature about this front desk is that the bottom portion here is actually, it's got a bit of a historical impact to it as well. It actually has large Tyndall stones from the Souris Valley Hospital that was taken down. So we've been able to incorporate some pretty cool looking stone from that facility in different areas in this building. The art gallery is coming together well. It's now completely boarded, ready for tape and paint. Our multi-purpose rooms are coming together. Between every multi-purpose room, there's a sliding wall, so we can make the space larger or smaller for multiple uses of our different groups using the space. And this is the upstairs mini gym and simulator room. This was 2 weeks ago, and it already looks drastically different. They've actually finished the boarding of the simulator room and the gym itself. Again, the simulator room a couple weeks ago. And then this is the view from the second level out over what will be the play and climb area. So beautiful big windows that you can look out into the park towards the leisure center with lots of natural light. This is a view from on the field itself, looking up at the edge of the building. You can see the track running around the exterior of the turf itself. And this is a view from up top. So this is on the track itself, and in the distance is actually where the spectator seating will be for up to 280 spectators. And this will all be glass here, so there's no obstructions for people viewing soccer or football or whatever may be happening down below. And then this is the outdoor skating rink. So we are done the pour portion, and actually now the lights are all installed. They're not operating yet. It's going to be an awesome outdoor facility, well lit, full NHL size. We will have full board package with players' boxes and everything. And then you can see here, these are the 4 change rooms with access to both the interior and exterior of the building. So we're able to provide a warm space for people to get ready before going out or coming in off the ice. And then this is the view from the north side of the building. This is actually the community commons entrance. So this is a shared space between the school and the Spark Center. So this will be another access point where we have our shared kitchen, shared bathrooms, and some seating areas where people from the park can make use of. And then this is, again, the final rendering of what the facility will look like with the beautiful Weyburn Credit Union Spark Center on the front of the building. Are there any questions before I hand the mic over to a few representatives from the credit union? Oh, I lost it. Okay, so then I will invite Dawn and Lynn from the credit union to take the mic, and they're just going to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I am Lynn, and that is Dawn, currently the chair of the Weyburn Credit Union. It's my pleasure this evening to bring you some warm greetings from our credit union as we've been working together releasing this great news over the past few weeks. To everyone from our Weyburn Credit Union staff and our members, thank you for the opportunity. Marcel, your worship, city dignitaries, and council members. A special thank you first off to Andrew and to Paige for all of the work in forming this relationship with us to be able to celebrate this in our community. Thank you for inviting us this evening, for hosting us. We know at this time it's not easy to have guests in your presence, so thank you very much. And Dawn has a few more words to share.
Thanks, Lynn. Hello, everyone. Like Lynn said, my name's Don Schulich. I'm the CEO of Weyburn Credit Union, and I'm happy to be here. And I just want to add to what Lynn has already said. The work you have done on this project is simply amazing. Like you, we believe in Weyburn and area. It is where we work, live, and play. We have a big stake in the community and seeing it prosper, and this is just helping build community, and it's going to have great results in the future. So we're very happy to partner with you on this initiative to make our community better, brighter, and stronger. And as we move forward, we are excited to work with you to see the completion of this project. So also, we want to take a moment to thank our lead on this project, which is Tana Torkelson. She did an amazing amount of work on this, and we just want to recognize her tonight for making this happen on our end. So we are excited for the day when we can gather again as a community. Once again, when that time comes, and it will, this new facility will be a perfect way to reconnect and re-engage with each other. So thank you to each and every one for making this happen. You should all be so proud of the work you're doing. It's a great project. And on behalf of us at Weyburn Credit Union, we want to thank you for letting us be a part of it. So thank you. Good evening.
And to you, Dawn, Lynn, and Tana, we'd also extend from Weyburn Council here and the citizens of Weyburn, we thank the Weyburn Credit Union for helping build community here in Weyburn and area, because this will be most certainly a regional thing. Through your generous sponsorship, this is greatly appreciated, and I want to just express it back from the community back to the Weyburn Credit Union. Thank you. With that being said, we'll, is there anything else? Any other council wish to speak? If not, thank you again. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll look forward to the grand opening of the Spark Center. Thank you. Moving forward, public hearings and notices. We have our bylaw 2020-3411 official community plan. If you would, please. Pardon me?
I believe there's a motion that has to be made.
There's a motion that has to be made. Yes.
That the public hearing, that we need to make a motion that the public hearing be declared open for the consideration of these two bylaws.
Okay. If you would, Mr. Richards, make the motion. Dick Adds? Okay.
If you don't mind, I'll just read it. Have you got it? Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Mel.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that the public hearing be declared open for the consideration of Bylaw 2020-3411, being a bylaw to adopt the City of Weyburn Official Community Plan 2020 and Bylaw 2020-3412, being a bylaw to adapt the zoning bylaw for the City of Weyburn.
Do you have a second?
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
I'll now call on our Planning and Development Coordinator to present the report. Following presentation, any persons wishing to speak to these proposed documents are invited to come forward and provide their objections or comments for Council to consider. Go ahead first.
Good evening, Mayor Roy, councillors, city staff, and members of the public. I'm Janine Fletcher. I'm the Planning and Development Coordinator with the City of Weyburn. Tonight I'll be providing information on the new official community plan and the new zoning bylaw that are before Council. First off, I'd like to thank all of the people that were involved in this project, including Megan and James from P3 Architecture, Ashley from Beaton Planning, Dwight from Eco Research, and Mauricio from Mapline Services. This project wouldn't have been able to be done without them, and I'm just a small part of it. So tonight, the purpose of the presentation is to provide an overview of the new OCP and zoning bylaw. I'll highlight some of the key changes that have happened between the 2003 OCP and the 2020 OCP. as well as the differences between the 2003 zoning and the 2020 zoning. Then I'll highlight some of the key changes that have been made to the document since Council did the first reading on August 17th, and I'll highlight what the next steps will be in the process. So first off, what is an OCP? The Planning and Development Act 2007 gives municipalities the authority to adopt an official community plan. An OCP is a high-level planning document that guides physical, environmental, economic, social, and cultural development of the municipality. It helps manage resources and land to accommodate future growth. They must incorporate provincial land use policies and the statements of provincial interest. The P&D Act sets out a list of what must be included in an OCP and what may be included in an OCP, and I won't bore you with all the details. What is a zoning bylaw? Zoning bylaws implement those high-level policies from the OCP. It divides the city into zones and sets out regulations that apply to these zones. The zoning bylaw provides regulations regarding lot sizes, lot dimensions, and coverage, types of buildings or structures that are permitted, where they can be located, and how they can be used, building setbacks, heights, densities, and floor area ratios, landscape spaces, and parking or loading requirements, fencing restrictions, the restrictions on size, location, and other requirements for signs, as well as home occupations, amongst other things. So the OCP and zoning process. The existing OCP and zoning were approved in 2003. Some amendments have been made over the years in regards to specific topics, but a full review and update had not been conducted until now. Periodic reviews and updates are necessary to bring the documents up to date with the most current provincial policies and address current land use and economic trends or forecasts. In April 2019, City Council awarded the contract for the OCP and zoning bylaw review and update to P3 Architecture. This was not a complete rewrite process, only a review and update. Public engagement was conducted with members of the public and applicable stakeholders through open house format. The results of the engagement have been incorporated into the documents. The new OCP and zoning bylaw were originally planned to go before Council in March 2020, but that had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Council conducted a first reading of the documents on August 17th, 2020, and then a public notice was advertised in the Weyburn Review on September 9th and September 16th in accordance with the requirements of the Planning and Development Act to advertise Council's intent to adopt a new OCP and a new zoning bylaw. Today, Council is holding the public hearing for both documents, which gives members of the public the opportunity to provide concerns or issues with the proposed documents to Council for consideration. Following the public hearing, Council will discuss the documents and decide whether to proceed with the approval of the documents. So what's changed between the 2003 OCP and the 2020 OCP? So first of all, we've incorporated the statements of provincial interest. These are something that are fairly new and had to be incorporated because they didn't exist when we passed the 2003 OCP. The City of Weyburn also has a new mission statement, objectives, and values that have been incorporated into the new document. There was the removal of the neighborhood maps and neighborhood development policies, which have been replaced with a land use designation map. The order of the document and the overall formatting has been changed. This is with the intent to make it more user-friendly and more accessible online in a digital format. The OCP also has several maps, which include the land use designation map, the future land use map, transportation map, development constraints map, and the topography and drainage map. And then what's changed between the 2003 zoning and the 2020 zoning. Some zones were removed because they were no longer relevant and properties could be easily integrated into another zone. Some zone names changed to simplify references and reduce confusion. For example, the RM zone has now been renamed to the RFM zone so that we're not confused with the RM of Weyburn. The addition of regulations regarding shipping containers, where they are located, setbacks, number of shipping containers, and other applicable regulations have been added. There's also been the addition of regulations for Airbnbs, which we've classified as homestays. Definitions have been added or revised throughout the document to provide clarity. There was also a review of all 74 amendments that have been made over the years, and we incorporated ones that were still applicable. The overall order and formatting of the document has also been changed to make it easier to read and more user-friendly. So what's changed in the OCP since the first reading? Further review of the documents following the first reading by staff determined that a land use designation map should be added to the document. There is also the addition, this addition would allow for guidance in the zoning that's applied to properties and would assist in the review and evaluation of rezoning applications. Previously, this took the form of a neighborhood or subdivision policy map, and that was deemed more appropriate for neighborhood plans. So this is what that new map looks like, and it's very similar to the zoning bylaw, and it does dictate what zoning is applied to a property. It helps divide out the city into where industrial will go, where residential will go, and where commercial will go, as well as parks and recreation. So a summary of the changes that have happened to the zoning bylaw since the first reading. A complete list has been provided in the council packet, and I won't bore you with all the little nitty-gritty details. There is the addition of shipping containers as uses in applicable zones. They had been restricted previously, but we conducted a review and determined that there were some other zones that they could be permitted or discretionary in. There are still policies that apply to those shipping containers that will have to be followed. The floor area ratio map and height overlay maps have been added back into the document. Those had inadvertently been left out of the original draft, and that will ensure that those permissions are continued into the future so we don't run into issues. And then there was typographical corrections, including spelling, punctuation, and grammar, and there was some corrections to formatting and section numbering to ensure that that was all correct. That's what that height and floor area overlay looks like. It's just a detail map, and it only applies to the central business district. So before I ask for questions, I could answer them now, or I could answer them if you want to call for anyone else that would like to speak.
We'll go for questions right now.
Okay.
Any questions from the council? Mr. Richards?
Not so much a question. Thanks, Your Worship. Not so much a question, Janine, and I'm not sure if now is the time to get this clarification from you or not, but I feel it has to happen at some point. And I know that the Executive Director of the Economic Development Agency, I think, is behind Laura back there. Yeah. So just so that so that everybody is aware, the OCP has been through the ECDEV folks. It's also been to the Regional Planning Commission. Yep. No concerns from anybody at either of those groups, nothing brought up, nothing that was a red flag anywhere. So first off, I guess that's good news. Thank you for putting this together. There's a saying in Saskatchewan about being thrown in a dugout. You've swam to the other side for sure. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot here. I just wanted to get that clarification, so thank you.
Okay.
No further questions? This is a second and final, so we had our first call to speak. I'll say it again. Do we have a first call again to speak? So I will now make a second and final call for anyone that would like to speak to either of the proposed bylaws. With that, then the submitted report and correspondence can be received, and the public hearing will, do you have a motion that it's being received, if you would, please?
Yes, Your Worship. Thanks again, Janine, for your comprehensive report. I'm prepared to make a motion that in reference to bylaw number 2020-3411 and 2020-3412, the submitted report, comprehensive and additional materials be received.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Do you have a motion that the public hearing will be closed?
I have, Your Worship. Again, I'm prepared to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We will now move forward with it. That, do you have a motion that the bylaw be amended, be adopted? Go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm prepared to make a motion that bylaw number 2020-3411, as amended, being a bylaw to adopt the City of Weyburn's official community plan of 2020, now be read a second time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Do you have a motion to do a third reading?
Yes, Your Worship, I make a motion that bylaw number 2020-3411, as amended, now be read the third time, that the bylaw be passed and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the same and attach the corporate seal thereto.
The second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Mr. Mickle?
Yes, Your Worship, another motion that bylaw number 2020-3412, as amended, being a bylaw to adopt the zoning bylaw for the city of Weyburn, now be read a second time.
There'll be a third time.
No, it says second.
Is that a second time? Okay. Your mic.
Mike, yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Mike's on.
Okay. Third.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that bylaw number 2020-3412, as amended, now be read a third time, that the bylaw be passed and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the same and attach the corporate seal thereto.
I'll second that again, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously.
And the final one of the evening, Your Worship, make a motion that administration be directed to submit the approved documents to the province of Saskatchewan for the approval as required by the Planning and Development Act of 2007.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Very good. The next item is reports of standing committees. We have both the water treatment plant report, the fire department report, and the building department report. Do I have a motion to receive these?
Your Worship, I'll make a motion to receive those reports as presented.
I'll second it, Your Worship.
Discussion? No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Consent agenda, property tax collection report. On there, is there anything that, do you have a motion to receive?
Yes, Your Worship, I would like to make the motion that the property tax collection report for September 2020 be accepted as presented.
Do you have a second?
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Questions? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Motions, accounts payable. Do you have a motion?
Your Worship, I'll move that the purchase in the amount of $863,290.71 from September 25th to October 8th, 2020 be approved.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The mail-in ballots, Weyburn General Hospital. City Clerk, Richter.
Thanks, Your Worship. At the May 25th Council meeting, Council passed a motion to allow for a special poll to be held at the Weyburn General Hospital on Election Day. At the time we made that motion, we were at the beginning of COVID in hopes that we'd be at the end of COVID now, and sadly we're not. So I would like to propose to Council that instead of holding a special poll where we go into the Weyburn General Hospital, I don't think they want us any more than we want to send people in there. I'm asking Council if you would consider making a motion to allow me to hold a special poll where we would only hold a mail-in poll on Election Day at the hospital. The way it would work is that we would probably, if for any people that are admitted into the hospital after advanced polls close, which would be after November 5th, but before Election Day, November 9th, they may not have an opportunity to vote, not knowing that they were going to end up in the hospital. So I've kind of worked out a plan with the Weyburn General Hospital to hold a mail-in ballot election for anyone that qualifies to vote that happens to be in the Weyburn Hospital on Election Day. They would have to be a City of Weyburn qualified voter. There normally is very few. We might only get 1 or 2 people there, but I still want to provide the opportunity for anyone to vote that happens to want to vote that day that qualifies. So what would happen is I would drop off some mail-in ballot applications. A staff member at the Weyburn Hospital would be appointed as an election official. They would assist any patients in filling out the forms. The patient would be allowed to fill out their ballots. They would be sealed in envelopes, just like all other mail-in ballots. I would go pick up the sealed envelopes. They would be inserted into a ballot box along with all other mail-in ballots and be counted at 8 p.m. on Election Day along with all the other mail-in ballots. And I'm just asking for council to pass a resolution tonight to allow me to do that.
Do we have a motion?
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd be happy to make a motion that City Council allow for a special mail-in poll for patients only at the Weyburn General Hospital on the day of the municipal election, November 9th, 2020, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? The question I have is this the same thing that happens at the Tagua and all the other nursing homes?
Yeah, actually, what I'm going to do for them is I've already emailed all the nursing homes, and they are all in cooperation with doing all mail-ins so that we don't have to go there. The only one that wants us to come in is the Weyburn General, or is the Weyburn Special Care Home. So I do have 2 people that have agreed to go in for an hour to the Special Care Home. They may change their mind, but at this point, they'd like us to come in there. So that would be the only one that I have planned to be going into any of the nursing home facilities.
And the reason I asked, does this have to be included in this change? Do those nursing homes have to be joined?
No, because I normally always do go to those nursing homes and do what we call a homebound, and the homebound I'm basically going to do them as a mail-in, so there won't be any resolution that has to be made. It's just that the mail-in ballots for the special care, or for the for the hospital, that was included in the motion in the spring. The others were tentative. So, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving forward. There's no introduction of bylaws. There's no unfinished business. New business. Discretionary use permit, 1623 First Avenue Northeast.
One for the night. Okay. So tonight I'll be presenting an application that we've received for a development permit at 1623 First Avenue Northeast for a liquor store. This is considered a discretionary use in the zoning for the property, so the application requires council approval. So some background on the property. So it's a discretionary use development permit application that we've received. The property is located at First Avenue Northeast on the service road near 16th Street. The property is approximately 0.71 acres and currently has an 8,000 square foot building on the property that was previously used for a gym. The applicant is requesting permission to operate a liquor store out of the existing building, along with warehousing and distribution. All property owners within a 75-meter radius of the property have been notified of the application and have been given the opportunity to comment on the application. We have received 3 comments through that process. So the property is zoned highway commercial. A liquor store is listed as a discretionary use in the highway commercial zone, so it does require council approval. A warehousing establishment is not listed as a permitted or a discretionary use in the highway commercial zone. The surrounding properties are zoned highway commercial along the service road and residential to the north. The site is surrounded by 2 places of worship to the west and north, residential apartments to the north, and a car dealership to the east, as well as First Avenue Northeast to the south of the property. There is a back alley that runs along the north side of the property, as well as a municipal reserve that is intended to serve as a buffer between the highway commercial uses and the residential properties. The reserve measures approximately 12 meters or 40 feet in width. This is the plan that was submitted by the applicant. The site plan is on the right and the building floor plan is on the left. The building floor plan shows half of the floor area being used for the liquor store use and half of the floor area being used for the warehouse. It is my understanding that the applicant has not finalized this plan. However, this is what was submitted, so that's what staff's review has been based on. This is the proposed parking plan that was submitted by the applicant. The applicant is proposing 2 loading docks at the rear of the property to be accessed from the back alley. Staff were unable to verify if the parking plan is compliant with the zoning bylaw because it doesn't have any dimensions on the plan and it doesn't show where the barrier-free parking space would be provided. The required number of parking spaces would be 25. With 1 being a barrier-free parking space. It does look like they would be able to meet the 25 requirement. So there was some neighborhood concerns brought up through the neighborhood notice process. We received correspondence from 3 separate parties regarding their concerns, including both of the churches and a resident. The main concerns raised were that the noise from the semi-traffic in the back alley and the noise that's going to be produced by the maneuvering in and out of the loading spaces, specifically the hours at which the noise would be created. This would be mitigated by the requirements of the noise bylaw. The churches were concerned about the potential increase in traffic and safety concerns from the people attending the services at the church, including the children attending the play school. They advised that they are already experiencing people using the church property as a cut-through to avoid 16th and First Avenue intersection. The church could install traffic calming measures on their property to help mitigate this problem, such as signs or speed bumps. The property was previously used as a gym. It is possible that the liquor store would create more traffic. However, staff do not have evidence that this could worsen the problem that the church is currently experiencing. Both of the churches expressed concerns about the compatibility of the proposed land use with the existing uses in the neighborhood. And the churches provide support and counseling services, specifically in regards to substance abuse and addiction, so they're not supportive of the liquor store being right next door. From a zoning bylaw perspective, there are no regulations prohibiting a liquor store from being located next to a church. So there were several concerns brought up by staff. The engineering department reviewed the application and is not supportive of the application due to the proposed traffic on the back alley to access the proposed loading spaces in the rear of the building. The alley is not designed to handle large truck traffic and is not on the truck route as per the traffic bylaw. They would need to use the most direct manner to access the property, which would be off the service road off of First Avenue. The planning department also reviewed the proposed truck traffic and are concerned about the impact that would be caused by the large trucks on the back alley and the potential for the condition of the back alley to be deteriorated. Additionally, there are concerns about the noise and visual impact on the residential properties due to the lack of buffer and landscaping being proposed. Staff explored potential for alternatives to the loading spaces in the rear. However, the zoning bylaw does not allow for loading spaces in the front yard. And there's not sufficient space in either of the side yards to accommodate loading or maneuvering of trucks. Another concern from staff is that the applicant is proposing to use the municipal reserve, which is city-owned, for buffer purposes to maneuver trucks into and out of the proposed loading docks. The following slide will have a drawing showing the proposed truck movements. The use of the municipal reserve for truck maneuvering would not be consistent with the regulations in the Planning and Development Act, the dedicated lands regulations, or policies contained within the city's official plan, specifically the ones I've listed on the slide. There are other businesses along the back alley who have maintained the municipal buffer as landscape space, and have even installed fencing to further buffer the land uses. Staff have a concern with the proposal and the fact that warehousing and distribution is being proposed. Warehousing is not listed as a permitted or a discretionary use in the highway commercial zone and is therefore prohibited. I reviewed whether it could be considered an accessory use. However, based on my understanding from the applicant, the warehouse would be used to serve several businesses throughout the city, including bars and restaurants. Accessory uses are intended to be subordinate and incidental to the principal use. Given that this warehouse would be serving other businesses besides just the on-site liquor store, staff are of the opinion that it would not meet the intent of an accessory use. Therefore, the warehouse use is a principal use, and the applicant should seek a property where a warehouse is a permitted or a discretionary use, specifically the industrial zones. So this is the drawing that was submitted to us to show the truck movements that would be happening on the property and how they would maneuver semi-trucks in and out, because staff were concerned about the ability of them to maneuver into and out of the loading docks that are proposed without encroaching onto other neighborhood properties. The applicant submitted this plan, and as you can see, they show trucks driving across the municipal buffer, highlighted in yellow there. This is intended to be a buffer between the commercial uses and the residential, and there are policies in the official community plan and the Planning and Development Act in regards to what a municipal reserve can be used for, and this would not meet the intent of those regulations. As you can see, the neighboring properties to the east of the property, you can see the municipal reserve has been maintained with landscaping and fencing to buffer the commercial from the residential. And these are the views of the back alley facing west towards 16th Street. The alley measures approximately 16 meters wide, or 6 meters wide. And this is what the rear of the property looks like, and I've circled in red where they're proposing the loading docks so you can see approximately where they would be. So when it comes to a discretionary use, there are certain criteria that we need to use to evaluate the application, and they are set out in that section of the zoning bylaw. They include consistency with the objectives and policies of the OCP and the zoning bylaw, as well as the potential adverse impact on adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, environment, traffic, parking, public right-of-way, and other matters affecting public health and safety. So staff have reviewed the discretionary use proposal and evaluated it based on these criteria. The first and foremost issue is that the warehouse use is not a permitted or a discretionary use in the highway commercial zoning, so staff would not be supportive of the application for that reason. The proposed use as a warehouse and the intensity of the use requiring large trucks is incompatible with the residential zoning across the back alley. Additionally, the proposal would not be in compliance with the traffic bylaw and would potentially adversely impact the back alley as well as adjacent properties with noise and truck traffic. The proposal is also not consistent with the policies in the official community plan regarding the landscape buffer. The municipal reserve is proposed to be used for trucks to maneuver in and out of the loading spaces, which is not consistent with the regulations in the Planning and Development Act or the dedicated lands regulations. This would eliminate the intended purpose to be a buffer between the residentially zoned properties and the commercial uses. So council has a few options here tonight. The first would be to approve the development permit without further conditions. The second would be to approve the development permit for the liquor store proposed at 1623 First Avenue Northwest, subject to the following conditions, and I won't read all of those out to you. You can read them out if you're going to make that motion. And then the last option would be option 3, which would be to refuse the development permit for a liquor store and warehouse at 1623 First Avenue as proposed for the following reasons. And I've listed them all on the slide, and I won't repeat all of the ones I've mentioned before. So That would be my staff recommendation, would be for development permit application 2020-016 for permission to operate a liquor store and warehouse at 1623 First Avenue Northwest be refused for the reasons outlined in option number 3. So at this time, I'll call on the applicant to come forward, and he can provide you some more background and maybe answer any questions that you guys have.
Before we do that,
Yep.
we're going to do a motion.
Okay.
So that all things are recorded down. So all things are recorded down in the minutes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Your worship, yeah, just to get it on the table, I'll start a motion that we approve the development permit for a liquor store as proposed at 1623 First Ave Northeast, subject to the following conditions. I guess I'll read them all now. That the warehousing distribution be deemed an auxiliary use to the primary liquor store use, and that the warehouse portion of the liquor store shall not exceed 50% of the total building floor area, including any subsequent building additions, as required by Table 14.2 in Bylaw 2003-2099. There shall be a minimum of 25 parking spaces provided on site based on the existing 8,000 square foot, 743.3 square meters building floor area. A minimum of 1 parking space shall be barrier-free parking pursuant to section 14.1.6. The parking spaces shall be in compliance with the minimum size requirements in the table 14.1 of the zoning bylaw. Each parking space shall be clearly demarked and shall be curbs or fences separating the parking areas from the adjacent properties. That the use of the back alley for heavy vehicles to access the property be prohibited as per the City of Weyburn Traffic Bylaw 2016-3346. Any areas not occupied by buildings, parking, loading, or storage shall be landscaped in accordance with subsection 15.1.2 of the zoning bylaw. The business shall operate in a manner that is not contravention of the noise bylaw 2004 through 2004-3027. All property, including land, building, structures, and outdoor storage, shall be maintained with the minimum standards as set in the City of Weyburn's Property Maintenance Bylaw 2004-3021, and a City of Weyburn business license shall be obtained prior to operation.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I'll second it so we can debate it, Your Worship. Thanks.
Open for discussion. And I guess the on the procedures there, if you wish to go make a statement first? No? Okay. As opposed, Mr. McKenna. Tim? No? Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening. I am Pastor Tim McKinnon from Calvary Baptist Community Church, and I was the nominated person to come and speak to you tonight. The very first thing I want to say is we are not against this business, just so they know that. They have a legitimate right to be in our city, and we want to be, a community-focused church, so we are not against anybody, just so you know. But we did have some concerns when we received the notification. The first one, as was mentioned, is the area of safety. We also, in a roundabout way, represent a number of groups that rent space from us. So one is the play school that was mentioned. There's actually another church, Gospel of Grace, that rents space from us. So it's actually 3 churches in the area. Variations Choir, we didn't actually hear from them. So they have about 70 people attending right now. And then we have someone, and at times a couple of people who teach piano lessons. That happens at least 3 to potentially 5 times through the week. So we're representing a number of groups that are within our area. So there's a lot of children. There's the play school. We run children's programs. We do a lot with teenagers, a lot with young adults who've graduated from high school. And I know other churches around us have things to do with children and youth too. So safety is an issue. It's already an issue for us, as was said. Our parking lot is used as a thoroughfare. And I was talking with someone for about 15 minutes the other day in our foyer, and in that time, 3 vehicles went by. So that's something we're already dealing with. So just the thought of extra like truck traffic and warehouse activity just seems a little bit overwhelming to us. And also, again, we're not against the business. There are church people who will have a beer. I'm just saying that. It's more where there is alcohol, there tends to be other things. And I'm also chaplain with the police department. And, you know, there could be a little bit higher incidences of crime, which there is a little statistical thing with that. So we just have some concerns about that. So there's and that's not a judgmental thing, it's just something that is known, I think. The other aspect is more the psychological, emotional aspect of it. We do have people who are seeking counsel for things like addictions. I know other churches have people too. And the truth is, they have to handle temptation anyway. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, there's alcohol there. But to come to a place that you see as a bit of a haven and there's a liquor store next door, what do you think of that? Also in my role as pastor and chaplain, I help people go through the 5th step of the 12-step AA program. And that's a very powerful and impacting time. It's a time for them to basically confess to stuff that they did, you know, while they were just going through many years of struggle. And they come very afraid sometimes. You know, they're about to bare their soul with me. And it's a way of them leaving the past behind so that they can move forward. And again, they're going to have to deal with temptation, but is it the right place, I guess? That's the thing. We had already been approached before COVID to be a location for another AA meeting. That may or may not happen, and of course, we're into COVID right now. But again, you know, is it going to impact our ministry by having this next door? So even down the street, we'd be okay with. Even across the street, there's that Belgian chocolate store that there's just enough space, enough psychological, emotional distance that we feel it would be a better location. So again, we're not at war with anybody. We're just giving our opinions, and those are our thoughts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albert, do you have any comment? No. Okay. Council. Go ahead.
I'll start it off.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm between a rock and a hard spot. Don't want to deter business. I know the building has been empty and the owner is here and wanting to get some revenue out of it, and that's business. I'm not sure I agree with the issue of the back alley, that it's a problem. I know the zoning buffer there is something that we have to work out. I guess one of my first questions would be back to city administration. Have we ever dealt with anything like this before in the past? And if so, do you know of anything, or how have we handled that?
I posed that question to the engineering department and the police chief, and so I'll refer that to our director of engineering.
So we did take a review of businesses that would access from a back alley. We do know it happens, as in they have the right to deviate from the truck route to get directly to their business, but it is at our discretion to review what is the most direct route, which is why I recommended going off the service road. Just as a general statement, our back alleys are not designed to handle truck traffic. We have enough issues with roads and truck traffic right now that honestly putting it down this back alley is going to be extreme maintenance, extreme cost to rebuild it because we would not be able to put trucks down it. I can't say we've officially approved anything to go down a back alley prior to this.
Yeah. I also see, thank you, I also see the side of the two churches being there and the impact. I don't know, I personally don't know how to weigh that, and but I see your concern, I truly do. So I'm not sure what my consensus is here tonight. I'm tossed and turned. The business aspect, the social aspect, that's what we got to balance here. So that's my 2 cents worth, your worship, if it makes any sense.
Mr. Van Bessie? No, I'm not putting anybody on the spot. I'll say something here. I'm going to ask you, Janine. This, when you talked about the buffer, I went and I drove and I took a look at that area. That buffer area, when they talk about a buffer between the residential and that, buffer is a pretty loose word because it's flat grass with one tree, 1 or 2 trees stuck up in there. It is not like a wall or anything into there. So this buffer zone is, to me, that's really loose onto there, and I have an awful hard time with that. Second thing is, the mall downtown, is that deemed warehouse area? Because if the mall downtown is not deemed warehouse area, then how does the liquor board store able to store their liquor in the downtown?
Well, having a storage room is one thing, but as soon as you're deciding to distribute to other locations.
The liquor board distributes to other stores too.
What other stores?
Well, they can also give out their liquor to family occasions. They distribute it to, until the liquor store opened, they were distributing to other places too themselves. It was all coming out of there.
It does fall within different zoning. It's central business district zoning, and I'd have to review what all the permitted uses are within that zoning.
But the point being, again, we're getting into this, a lot of this liquor licensing stuff, which is, again, to me, on my standpoint, is very archaic. We are still way back in the Prohibition days on there, and they have set up zones for whatever they're doing. The point being is that the mall is distributing out here as small amounts. We're underneath what you had said there, underneath the 50%. You're less than 50% of your general business thing. So when it starts into warehousing, again, that's a pretty fine definition as to what is really a warehouse and what isn't on there. Anyway, looking at the back alley too, I don't quite see how a semi would have to touch even that buffer area. There's a huge amount of room for a semi to come in. They can come up the alley, back down, and go into it. Our alleys are used by, there when they talk about the weights, I'm sure the weight, if you were to weigh what was coming in, it'd be pretty, it would be, I'm sure it wouldn't be overweight, most certainly. I couldn't say that. I don't even know what the loaded semi of alcohol would be at, but I'm sure that it'd be quite a bit under what normal weight limits are on there. And that would be, again, a discretionary thing as to, like you say in the bylaw, what weights that are allowed to go into there on that. And I don't know what the bylaws are, unless somebody else is smarter than I. Mr. Richards?
I don't think I'm any smarter, but I would suggest the central business district is a completely different animal. You'll even note that the back alleys there are paved, right? So they are built for that. I don't offer anything more than that. I don't know, but it is different. So there'd be differences there. For me, this is, and I don't know, I seconded Councillor Chessel's motion because we need to get this out and get it debated. Frankly, I'm not sure where I'm going to put my hand up yet. But I would question this, 2 questions. First, Janine, thanks for your homework. And I will say this to you, and I hope everybody understands. This isn't Janine's decision. All that she can do is execute the policy as it's written, and the bylaw as it's written. She takes no artistic license with this whatsoever. So thank you for your diligence. The rest is up to us, and I understand that. Let me ask you this. Mike, chime in when you need to here. What does it look like to get a truck down that back alley and backed up to a new loading zone, number one? Number two, I don't know, and I didn't expect to be as busy today as I was. In our traffic bylaw, what constitutes a heavy truck? Like, those are my two questions.
We do have a definition in the traffic bylaw of heavy vehicle, and it means a motor vehicle with a gross weight registration exceeding 9,000 kilograms. B, any vehicle including any combination of motor vehicle, trailer, and load with a weight exceeding 9,000 kilograms, or any vehicle including any combination of vehicle and trailer which exceeds 10 meters in length. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
I just had to do some quick math.
Well, we're doing some math here.
So that's about 20,000 pounds, yes?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't have my calculator with me.
You are correct.
So, thanks, Winston. So I don't know. I apologize. I don't know what a semi-loaded beer weighs. I don't know what an empty semi weighs. So I need to know that. Number two, the length for sure. Like you said 10 meters? Yeah. Wow. So any truck trailer unit's going to exceed that. So right now, is it fair to say that none of the businesses along there, so, you know, we've got a car dealership and we've got a lumber yard, then kind of some empty spaces, then an oil field business, they are not putting truck traffic down that back alley right now?
As far as I know, no.
Okay.
There has been concerns with the car dealership putting semis back down the back alley. That'll be addressed as a separate issue now that that's been brought to our attention.
Okay. What about the tire shop? There's a tire shop there too that services semis. I'm quite sure that they're going down the back.
They don't have access to the back
Don't
alley.
they have it access?
Strip on across the street too.
For me?
Strip on's down the street, their semis go down that back lane across the street, off the service road. Yeah, that's probably a tighter back lane, but it's just with trucks and stuff, right?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The dealership's been using that back alley for all their parts, delivery, it's all heavy truck, 50-foot trailers. You can even see on the one picture you had, aerial picture you had, you can see where they've actually been cutting through the buffer zone behind our property to do their turns and what have you. Has it been a problem? Has there been complaints about that back alley getting rutted up from those trucks? They've been doing it since that building's been open, I still know. From my understanding is the city didn't even know they were doing it. My other question is, has there been complaints about it? With the heavy trucks, because they've been using heavy trucks there since that business opened.
I did receive one complaint from a resident about the noise that's created along there. She didn't say anything regarding that status of the back alley and the rutting up that's happening, but she was concerned about the amount of noise that's been created through that maneuvering and the hours that the noise has been created. I guess they're clearing snow to be able to use that at all hours of the morning, according to. But again, city staff can't sit out there all day and observe semi-traffic, so it is based on complaints for the most part. And I'll refer to Jen for more information.
Go ahead.
So we have had complaints along these back alleys of anything that exists on that service road, and we do multiple calls of maintenance out there to continually repair the back alleys, and a lot of it is just from the regular truck traffic. I can't say whether every business is bringing semis in properly because, like Janine said, I can't be out there monitoring. That is a bylaw thing. We do our best to enforce the bylaw when we do find infractions of it. But yeah, we definitely have issues with that back alley in general and complaints and maintenance on it.
Go ahead, Mr. Mickle.
Thank you, Worship. This is a tough one. I mean, you're out there for economical development, and you got to grow your city, and all of a sudden there's roadblocks. But that's part of the job that we have here. I was just thinking while we're talking about trucks, is we don't like semis in there because it's going to cause confusion. The other alternative is put it on a smaller half-ton truck and use 6 of them, go in there and case closed. It's actually not that difficult. The problem I have, if you start driving semis officially into that business, John, you've opened up Pandora's box for the whole back alley. There's condos, there's an apartment building, then the phones will ring steadily about the noise and confusion. Is there any way that we can compromise with the administration and the owner and the leaser to make some kind of a different arrangement? Maybe cut your storage down a bit, use smaller trucks or something so we can work with you. I don't want to say no tonight to you. Quite honestly, I think there's got to be a way to compromise to make this thing work. The business is sat there vacant. We're in a different times. But we have to have a plan of attack that's good for everybody. The church's views, I see them, Pastor, it's very legitimate. You know, I guess I look at the Catholic Church, the All Saints Anglican Church right across from McKenna Hall. They serve booze in there too. They have different functions going on. It is what it is. But I think there's a way to work this thing out, a reasonable, I really do. And we may not make that decision tonight. If we have to delay it and do it right, I think that's the plan we should do.
I think you said that the way you read the bylaw, your motion, that it was for trucks under?
No trucks, and I guess that was one of my questions. I think it has came through. Like, is a cube van it wouldn't be considered a heavy truck?
I believe the wording was heavy vehicles under the traffic bylaw, but I could be wrong.
So sorry, heavy vehicles. So I guess question for you, Mike, is that an option? Instead of having a large 53-foot back in there, is it an option to have smaller 5-ton trucks move in and out of that location?
It could be an option, but both my 5-ton trucks weigh over 9,000 kilograms. So they
Oh, okay.
classify a heavy truck under the city bylaw.
Okay.
I mean, it's the back lane was, you got garbage trucks going down there too. I was just looking into this today. A garbage truck, fully loaded, weighs about 25 tons, whereas a semi fully loaded with beer weighs about 40. So I mean, you're 25 to 30 and about 40 for a semi. So and that back lane it's got a lot of traffic. People go up and down there all the time. That back lane is probably pretty packed down. Somebody brought up the back lane behind Main Street there, how it's semi-paved back there. I think it needs repaired almost every year. Like it needs repaved every year, or else it's just running terribly, right? Gravel, in my mind, it gets back down a lot easier, a lot better. For instance, Highway 35, they're putting that to gravel right now because it's been so terrible north of 48 there, and they're putting it all to gravel now. So they just couldn't keep up with the repairs in the asphalt because it's just that bad of a road. So I think gravel, in my mind, is a lot. It just backs down better.
And I had another question for you, Mike. So considering the warehouse and distribution, is it all one entity? So if I'm XYZ restaurant or Yellow Grass, I'm just picking a name, beer store, am I calling the retail location and saying, placing my order, and then you're using in your warehouse? Or is it a warehouse business in the back and a liquor store, separate name, separate entity? Or is it just the same place?
It's all the same place. So we get the checks that come in, they're made to Liquor Spot. I mean, Basil and Sons or Town Cutter, it's all the same business account, right? But it's to the SOGA, it's the Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority. It's the same business. Whether we had the warehousing or the distribution, for that matter, in the back of the liquor store, we would still need space for that liquor store to operate with its own storage, right? Like it's probably, I'd say 1,000 to 1,500 square feet of warehouse for a liquor store about 4,000 square feet. And you're still gonna need trucks coming in, right? I mean, even if we weren't doing the distribution, it would still be trucks going in and out. On top of that, the trucks, I'm not sure when the city bylaw, like what time is like quiet time or whatever. They don't usually come till about 7 a.m., right? That's kind of go time for us is 7 o'clock. My trucks will leave no earlier than 7. So, and then the Jay's trucks, they come in at 7 o'clock. Jay's, by the trailer court, I mean, that's kind of a warehousing district, I would suppose, right? But they got houses right beside them, trailer court right behind them, and they got trucks coming in 5 in the morning from Regina every day of the week, right? I'm 1 day a week, Jay's comes to my warehouse, just once.
And I think that might be a misconception of, everybody thinks it'd be tons of semis going there. It's a semi per week. It's not one a day.
Yeah, my 5 tons leave, like, I mean, we go on the road, so we are on the road with those trucks are much quieter, they're much shorter, they're not carrying near the weight, right? They're, my Toyota, my Hino, I guess that truck is, it's very, very quiet. You wouldn't even hear it from the church, I'm sure that, it's right beside it, so it's that quiet, that truck.
And you said that yours, I guess the motion that was in there that said no heavy trucks, but your 5 tons are over 9,000 K.
I'm almost positive, without any weight in them, they're that, so.
So you'd have to strike that to pass that amendment, because then you wouldn't even fit it in with what he's got there.
Well, if you use a 9,000 K, you can't drive the dump truck down there.
No.
Or a garbage truck.
Garbage truck either, so they shouldn't be.
Those trucks are rated at, I think, I want to say about 33,000 pounds, right? So I think empty with no load, fluid in it and whatever, right? Just a regular truck, nothing in the box. I think it's right around, I want to say around 10 or 12, around there is the empty weight of that truck.
Your truck?
Yeah, that's my 5 tons, yeah.
And so even garbage trucks are there, so the heavy trucks are basically we're even messing up our own bylaws on that, so, out of the range. Mr. Justice, did you want to amend that?
I had another question, but I think it was just answered.
I'll ask Mr. Wheeler first.
So what are the hours of operation?
Of the liquor store itself?
Yeah.
We wouldn't open before 10, and I'm not 100% decided on it. It's a different area, like, I mean, downtown you have the foot traffic from the bars late at night, right? So will we stay open past 12 or 11 o'clock at the new store on that side of the city? I'm not sure at this time, right? I mean, we might kind of experiment with it for the first few months just to see. Probably the first few months will be busy, right? But without the foot traffic of the downtown core and all the bars closing at 1, 2 in the morning or whatever, you probably won't see a lot of late night traffic on that side of the city, I'm gonna guess. So I can see us closing at midnight the latest, open at 10 kind of thing. Like downtown, we're open till 3 a.m. on the weekends, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, open till 3 o'clock in the morning, so.
For the distribution aspect of it, like, have you done any studies, and do you have any kind of predictions on how much traffic you would actually see back there with the?
With the distribution?
Yeah.
Well, we don't see a lot of traffic besides the truck coming in. The truck comes in for our stores too, right? It's not just for the distribution, right? So we just get the 1 truck a week. Sometimes we'll get a truck and then a pup, they call it, like basically it's like a semi carrying a 5-ton, like a 24-foot box. It just depends on the week. It's more in the summertime if we're that busy, right? But that's just on the 1 day they're in and out, and usually 7 o'clock on a Wednesday is when they're there. Sometimes later. Sometimes Jay's doesn't get down here until 11 o'clock, and they're there. I mean, that just puts a twist in our day, but yeah, sometimes they're there just before noon even. But.
And the trucks you're using, would they be any different than what like soft drink distributors use?
Well, like Pepsi and Coke and stuff, yeah, they use the big semis, right? My trucks though, they're smaller.
Okay.
My trucks are 24-foot box trucks,
okay.
vans or whatever they call it, 5 tons.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Van Bitch.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, it's a tough issue for sure, and I appreciate Pastor Tim's concerns. To me, there's several issues, of course, but so the back alley, that's an issue that has to be dealt with. I don't think to allow semis to go down that back alley without some restriction there, that's also going to allow every other business on that street bring whatever kind of semi that they want to go down there, whether it's a 40-ton semi or a 60-ton semi. So I think there has to be some sort of agreement made on the size of vehicle that goes back there. And then we have the municipal reserve to deal with also. So I don't like to see us contravene rules that are in place for purposes, for sure. But on the flip side, then I think that also goes to the application for the liquor store in itself. It's zoned for discretionary use in that area, and I think sometimes we all don't wish to have something beside us, but if it's zoned for that, then we have to expect, it could be a restaurant, it could be almost anything that could go there that's going to be busy and create traffic. So I have no problem with the liquor store going there at all, but I don't think I'd be prepared to make a decision tonight until we come up with some solution to the delivery process.
Well, and with the reserve land back there, it's, like, that was just a drawing, I just did it fairly quickly. It's not an exact, I took Jay's back there, Marlon came back there from Jay's, and he said he would have no issue getting through there. He could go up through the alley, then back up, and then, like, he said it'd be easily done.
Yeah, but there is a reason for the municipal reserve to be there, so I think there would have to be some kind of agreement or something to see whether, if it's even possible for us to use that as
essentially he could just back up and go across it again, right, and then just back into the bays. I mean, both churches use, I don't know if there's a reserve on the other side for the other church or not, because it's residential, right, but the church directly beside the 1623 First Ave there, they use the back parking lot there, right there. Right? Obviously, it's not heavy traffic going across it, right? But they're still going across it. So it's, I mean, for me not to be able to use a semi to go across there, it's...
Yeah, but unfortunately, you've come now and made that, so you've made us all aware of the problem. Yeah. So once that happens, then it opens up that can of worms, unfortunately. So I think that's something that I feel, Mike, has to be dealt with prior to the agreement, to making a decision, I think.
Mr. Chessel first.
So I guess question for administration on the rear lane is definitely a hang-up. Is it an option to have call it a service agreement? Now, I think this is going to open a can of worms for rest because, makes a valid point. The apartment also has a truck coming in to pick up the dumpster. So now we have multiple, like Mel said, we've opened up a can of worms because there's multiple issues around there. Is that an issue, or is that something we can create, a service agreement based around with everybody? Matthew's probably looking into it right now. Hate to throw everyone on the spot, but is that an option to make something like this work?
I know the traffic bylaw does give us the option to give a permit, but any permit of that is more on a temporary basis where you have to have it in your truck. So the police, if they did stop you when you were off the truck road, you'd have to have it with you. So that is more of a temporary basis where we allow a deviation from the truck route. I haven't seen a service agreement in place per se that says, yeah, you can continually use this road even though it's not off a truck route, you can use these vehicles on it. I haven't seen anything like that in our records. Whether we've done it before or not, I can't say.
Mr. Mickle? Go ahead, Mr. Mickle.
Thank you, Worship. Worship, is there a possibility we could postpone the motion that's on the table this evening? There's been good discussion and different dialogue on truck sizes and different options that administration can work with the owner and the person renting that building or leasing it to come to a compromise where we can work together on this. We're going around the block here, which is good, but we need more direction from administration as to what you actually want. Can we postpone the motion tonight, Your Worship?
Well, there's always that option. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just one more question, guys. The lumberyard, they access and unload off the street. I think a lot of the car deliveries now for the dealership there are off the street. I know they used to be in the back alley. Is there access that you can design by taking 20 feet or 16 feet, whatever you needed, to back a semi down to the front of the building and design your building to receive that way? Just a thought and a question.
That's prohibited by the zoning bylaw.
Serious.
That is prohibited by the zoning bylaw. Having loading spaces in the front yard isn't permitted.
Well, the dealerships and the lumberyards do it all the time.
They have the loading spaces on the side. Are you talking about just parking on the street?
No, I'm saying for them to back in. What is the difference if Western Lumber unload a semi of 2x4s from the street? They do it all the time.
You can't have a loading space, like a loading dock, in the front yard of the property, according to the zoning bylaw.
Okay,
And
didn't
I
know
explored that
Thank you.
option
Yeah.
for them, and unfortunately, the side yards aren't wide enough to be able to maneuver a truck either, so.
But I think that what you, go ahead with what Mr. Mickle said. Did you want to make one last comment?
Yeah, I'm struggling with, what we seem to be stuck on is putting a truck down a back lane that's already being used as a truck route, unofficially. So I'm stuck on this. Way to go, Mike. Now we got to deal with this. So thanks, pal. But I don't think we're far away, but I'm kind of leaning to where Councillor Mickle is right now. I think we need to put this back in the briefcase for a little while and let you guys, like by you guys, I'm saying Janine, you and your team, Mike, you and your team, to sit down and get some more details here, because I'm 99% sure we can make this work, to be quite honest with you. That's kind of where I am right now. So I'd be in favor of tabling your motion, Councillor Chessel.
Do you have a motion to table the motion?
I guess I wonder how that would work, Your Worship. I'm looking at Danette because I won't be here next meeting too, so I don't know how that works and how, and because is there potentially, if there is, if there's amendments to this motion, how does that work?
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry to say this is the first time in my many years of being speaker that we're talking about postponing a
but if you
motion
defeat the motion,
of a person
they
who's
can't
not
come
going
back.
to be here.
They can't come back to months. If you defeat the motion, yes.
Yeah, I would say we probably would need to defeat the motion and bring back another motion, because Councillor Chessel knows he will not return. Sadly, he's not running again. We can't really amend a motion without him being.
But it's another thing that if we defeat the motion, then they don't have the right to come back for another 6 months.
No, you can bring back a motion, because I'm sure our next motion won't be exactly the same, because we're going to obviously do some discussion. So it couldn't be the exact same motion.
Which, Your Worship, would make sense, because there would be amendments to that motion. It would be read differently.
So long as you're right that they can come back next meeting and have different motions put in. Because I thought if you defeated once, that that they couldn't come back again within 6 months.
From what I understand, Your Worship, it can't be the same motion, though, if I recall. I listened to George Cuff 4 years ago. I remember that training.
Ooh. Yeah, there's some hidden stuff behind that comment. So, all right. So, but the point being that I thought that any presentation can only be done once every 6 months. No? Okay. So long as you're clear in you're holding with that part, go ahead. We'll call. Because the next council meeting isn't until November 25th. So that's a whole month away.
We're in the cold weather anyways. It'd been nice to do this a month or two ago, but we were still negotiating, and just the way the timing worked out.
All right. No further discussion then. Call the question. All in favor? The motion? No. We're just voting for it on the motion itself. You said you didn't want to postpone it, Dick. We're voting for the motion. Do you want to read the motion again?
I think we should hear it again.
Okay, I get you.
All in favor of the motion? 2 in favor? All against? Motion defeated.
So then, Your Worship, this will come back to council at a later date, revised, and hopefully
Revised.
we can compromise with all parties and make something work.
Maybe there could be a motion to defer the application and direct further discussions with the applicant.
No, it's, the motion's all done. So what they'll have to do is they'll have to come back, they'll have to do a different permit. We'll make a new motion next time.
Just to be clear, you're asking for a motion to defer the application.
I believe so, yes. But
It's, the motion's defeated already, so we're good.
We good?
We're good.
I don't know that we're good.
I don't know, I'm not good. I'm confused here.
I think that what Janine was asking for is what we should do. I think we should provide administration with the direction via a motion, right, to meet with the proponents of this project, right, to further iron out, I hate this term, iron out the details and come back to the next council meeting with a new proposal.
Is that your motion? I second.
Thank you. City manager's given me that, except for this part, look. Is that okay?
I guess that gets down to...
Is that what you're looking for, Janine?
just direction from council, and
That's
that
what it
is-
was.
That would be it.
Thank you.
All in favor? Okay. Yes. Okay. So, and then the motion is, makes it more solid, that is solid direction. No, the reason why that was is that there becomes this problem of what should be a motion and what shouldn't be a motion there. Okay, moving forward, home occupation application. Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, I promise this is my last one tonight. Okay. So if we could get the presentation. So council has received an application for a home occupation permit. It is considered controversial. It's a home personal service establishment at 3 2nd Avenue Southeast. If I could. The application is for a home occupation permit, and it's a personal service establishment, and I know there's some confusion about that, what that might be. So it would be a salon or spa services, facials, nail salon, that kind of thing. So the anticipated traffic increase is 1 client per appointment, and a driveway is located on site that can accommodate the additional parking. Pursuant to section 6.3.3 of the zoning bylaw, home-based occupations must meet the following provisions. They have to be incidental and secondary to the use of the premises as a residence. They have to be compatible with residential uses, be limited to the extent in terms of volume of materials sold and number of clients, not substantially increase the volume of traffic, and not detract from the residential character of the zone. So the city council has 2 options here. The one would be to approve the home occupation permit at 3 2nd Avenue Southeast, subject to the following conditions. No person other than a resident of the dwelling unit shall be engaged in the home occupation as an employee or volunteer. No advertisement carrying the address of the dwelling in which the home occupation occurs may be placed in any media. The home occupation shall not occupy more than 25% of the gross habitable floor area. The face of any home business sign on site must not exceed 0.092 square meters and must be placed within the inside half of the front yard setback. Home occupations are subject to periodic review to ensure compliance. The owner's driveway shall be used for off-street parking of clients, and a City of Weyburn business license shall be obtained prior to the operation of the home occupation. And option number 2 would be refusal of the home occupation for the following reasons, and the motioner would have to provide those reasons. So my staff recommendation would be that home occupation permit application 2020.009 for permission to operate a personal service establishment at 3 2nd Avenue Southeast be approved, subject to conditions as outlined in option number 1. Any questions?
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, go ahead.
First off, I apologize if I mispronounced the name. I'd like to make a motion that the home occupation application of Ying Wang to operate a personal service business at number 3 2nd Avenue Southeast, lot 41-44, block 1, plan 1014-1752, zoned as R2, be approved with the following conditions. No person other than the resident of the dwelling unit shall be engaged in the home occupation as an employee or volunteer. No advertisement carrying the address of the dwelling in which the home occupation occurs may be placed in any media. The home occupation shall not occupy more than 25% of the gross habitable floor plan or floor area. The face of any home business sign on site must not exceed 0.092 meters or square meters and must be placed within the inside half of the front yard setback. Home occupations are subject to periodic review and to ensure compliance. Owner's driveway shall be used for off-street parking of clients, and the city business license shall be obtained prior to operation of the home occupation.
Do you have a second, please?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Oh, sorry. Did you have a discussion? Sorry. No. Okay. We're moving ahead here. We're going into requires and announcements. I think that, Mr.
Your Worship,
Van
I have a question for Danette. And this is kind of a far-fetched question. Because the previous people under the liquor spot are under a time constraint, is it possible to have a special meeting? It seems that we don't have council for 6 weeks almost. Is it possible to have a special meeting prior to?
Yes.
To deal with this?
Council can call a special meeting. You have to give 24 hours notice to the public, and council all would unanimously have to agree to hold a special meeting and just set out what exactly is on the agenda. If it was just this item, you would only be allowed to meet for this item, but you certainly could.
I would suggest that we, that as a council, we do that and we set up a time. And if administration thinks that they would have time in the next 2 or 3 days to try and iron this out, what we can do in 2 or 3 days can be done, I'm sure. If it can't be done in that period, then it's probably not going to happen. But that might get them through their times.
Something like next Monday at 5?
I'm pretty open, I think, but.
Friday at noon?
Well, let's let them find
Let them see what they can make.
Yeah.
We would have to give public notice, so certainly when perhaps administration, council, and the applicants could arrange for a good time for the meeting, and then we would certainly let the media know to give public notice to the public as best we can for the date and time of that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I would suggest that administration get hold of the applicants tomorrow morning or this evening or whatever, and just let them know what the plan is and go from there.
Very good. Any questions? I have two. If not, 2 questions just before there's some people wanting to make a comment. Number 1, and I guess maybe Mr. Bailey, I guess it's to Mr. Wilkinson here, but it's more, and Janine's gone there. But the condo on 5th Avenue and 5th Street, 5th Street North and 5th Avenue, there's a condominium there. They look out, there was an underground parking there. I have received numerous complaints about that plywood, that ugly plywood that has been put up around there as a barrier, and the people have to look out. It looks totally in disrepair. Is it either the developer or the city bylaw or somebody has to take care of that because it looks like just a rat's nest there? Go ahead.
I worked with that developer through my office before. That building was started with the anticipation of going ahead with the second condo, and due to the economy, it's started there. I have also received many calls about that. I would be more than happy to direct administration with the name of the gentleman and the phone number to approach that. I know he's been called about it also. I think all they're asking for is something more appealing for looks. It's a safety thing that they had to put up from Occupational Health and Safety, and I think the gentleman that is still in charge of that would comply with doing something better if he was approached from the city.
So you can give it to
I'll give that to Jennifer.
Your Worship, this has been addressed 2 weeks ago by the bylaw officer, Carl Felder. is it an eyesore? Yes, it is. I called back the person that talked to me, and the bylaw officer called her the same day, saying it'd be nice to paint the OSB with the spray paint or something on each side. The weeds are cut, and they had to force that issue, and it's done. And she said, that's probably a good idea. I said, get people in your condo that live there to sign a document and send to Tribunal, and they can spray paint it, and everything's fine. It's structurally sound, so nobody's gonna get hurt, but that's been addressed already.
On that, why, there's nobody advised me. Nobody advised, so it's good to get that. And the second thing is, Highfield Crescent, and again, Jennifer, that they seem that they got a message that they still don't have any running water up on Highfield Crescent. Are you aware of that issue up there?
Yeah, so yesterday evening at about 6 o'clock, we did have a water main break on that street. So we did get it isolated within 40 minutes, and we did inform the residents that they would have no water. So the Public Works Superintendent has informed me at the beginning of this meeting that they have about 2 hours left of work to get the water main repaired. And so they are currently working on it and doing their best to get water back to the residents as quickly as they possibly can.
So probably by midnight, they should have it, possibly, hopefully.
I think the plan was for them to continue to work tonight until they could get them back on with full water services.
Thank you. Seeing what's on the city. Anything? No. We're going to, just before we start, you say something? There. Mr. Bailey has something to say.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. As this is being my last official council meeting, I want to extend my sincere thank you to many that have made the past 9.5 years on council an honor and a privilege to sit as one representing the city of Weyburn. Thank you to all of you that gave me the support by your votes, of course, but also for your support in the many calls and visits that I've had over the last 9.5 years. I need to thank, of course, my wife and family for their support and allowing me time to be away at meetings and to participate within the city of Weyburn and work here. I want to also send special thanks to all the staff of the city for your professionalism and your courtesy with all the help and assistance you've given me. Mentioning names on something like this is sometimes not the correct thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. When you walk into City Hall, the first person that you meet will be the ladies at the front desk. Most of the time that's Donna, and it always makes your day when Donna has that smile and a welcome as you come in. One of the ladies that I've worked with many committee meetings is Christine, and I'd like to thank her for over the years of all the various committees. Again, nothing short of friendliness and professionalism from her and the department there. The list goes on to many others like Andrew and Wendy and Amanda, Laura, Jennifer, and all the many others that work within the walls of City Hall. To Danette, a special thank you for helping me out when I was and organized, especially when I had the honor to chair city council meetings. Your knowledge and again your professionalism as our city clerk is second to none. To Matthew, I thank you for always having an open door to discuss anything about our city. You have made my job easier when you've been always accessible to talk to. To all the city staff of Weyburn, a sincere thank you. I also need to thank the past and present council for the privilege of working together for the betterment of our city. The city of Weyburn on different occasions has been named one of the best cities in all of Canada to live in. This does not come by city council, but instead it's you, the citizens of Weyburn, and the businesses of Weyburn that form our community that this credit goes to. So it has been an honor and a privilege for me to represent the city of Weyburn as an elected council for the last 9.5 years. I will miss it. I'll get over it, I guess. I will miss the challenges it has, as we've seen one tonight. But that is time for me in my time to step back, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one.
Thank you Thank you for those words, Winston. Greatly appreciated. Jeff?
Thank you, Worship. I'll make mine a little short and sweet. Winston's been here a few more years than I have, and he did such good, I don't want to take away his great speech there. But yeah, really for myself too, thank you to my family, mayor, city councilors, the community. They're the ones who voted me in, so I was much appreciated with that. The staff, definitely all the staff. I don't think people realize what the staff do behind the scenes, and they think we're doing a lot of work. We're not doing nothing compared to what they do. And I think I've said it before, Matthew and Danette, I will be coming to bug you whether you like it or not. I'll still be popping in. I'll pop in the other offices, but hopefully it's on business levels again. I know I said to Amanda today, I said, geez, I didn't see you as much as I used to, because I used to be on the other side of things, so hopefully.
You take permits out now.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be bugging her a little more. It was an experience like no other. It was, it's not what I expected, I guess. It was better than I expected. As a community, we did a lot. There's a lot of big projects that came up, and I want to thank the past councilors too, because without them, they wouldn't have put us, they put us in a good position to be able to have these projects or make these projects happen. But no, overall, it's been exciting. It's been great. Yeah, I have a few extra things on my plate, so I just couldn't take on any more. So once again, just want to thank everyone. It was great. Thank you.
And our last councillor that is not joining us this year.
Well, I think I'm going to probably be shorter than both the previous speeches, but what Jeff said is truly, it's unbelievable experience. I can't believe 4 years has gone by already. I learned a lot, and there was a lot of great people that I got an opportunity to work with, including my fellow council members, Mayor Roy, and also need to thank the previous councils too, because they set us up for success. What they did all the years prior to us coming in made it so we could accomplish what we have, a rec center, better pension for the employees, waiver. And it's just truly amazing what's been accomplished here. I'd really like to thank the city administration, Danette, Matthew, you guys have been outstanding, Andrew, like all of you combined have made this job memorable. It's something I won't forget, and I don't want to forget about this because I do plan on coming back. It's something that until you've actually experienced being on city council, it's hard to explain the gratitude of doing this job. A lot of people think it's a thankless job, but it's not. There's a lot of things that are accomplished within these chambers that helps the city of Weyburn be as great as it is. And all the people that work for the city should be proud of what they've accomplished. Weyburn is one of the nicest places to grow up, raise a family, and retire in. So hats off to all the employees of the city. And I'm not going to go away. I plan on being back. I'd still like to be part of a lot of the committees on council, or not on council, within the city. But I do plan on throwing my hat in the mix again in the not too distant future. So thank you very much, everybody, for your patience and helping me learn what it is to be a councillor. It was an awesome experience.
Mr. Richards.
Yeah, sorry, mine was just to acknowledge, thanks, Your Worship. Mine was to acknowledge you three. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sorry to see each and every one of you. Not saying any of us are going to be back in a month, but for sure you three won't be, so you'll be missed. And thanks for especially for your guidance there, long in the tooth, guys. But even I know you're always around. So, but to all three of you, thank you very much.
Comments, Mr.
Yes, ditto, I guess, all the way around. Thank you all, and good luck in your futures. And Councillor Wheeler, I think that was quite a next election speech you just gave, so you're set up for 2024.
I'm going to start campaigning right away because I think I'm going to need some help.
I should point out, Your Worship, I am taking my name tag, just the insert, so just
Slide it
so.
out and put it on.
I'll just take it right now so I can take it. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So with that, Mr. Mickle?
I too want to thank the councillors that are not running again, and that was a good platform for that. But no, I appreciate working with everybody, and like you said, it's not us that does all the work. There's a lot of people here, administration, a young administration, experienced administration, and I'm very proud of what we have. And hopefully going forward, we can make it even work even better. So thank you for your cooperation, and all the best in your lives. Thank you.
In closing, that I'll just echo all the words, everybody else said the words too. I guess your point was on there that I'd like to say, can't believe it, 4 years went by this quick. Is a very fast 4 years, and we did well. I feel we did well. Hopefully the citizens of Weyburn feel that we did well. We moved forward, not being an election campaigning stuff at all. Just like to thank you for this. The next meeting will be November 16th, which will be our swearing inauguration. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Yes, Your Worship, on November 16th, we'll just hold a very brief meeting to swear in all 7 council members. Whether you're an incumbent or a newly elected official, you will be sworn in on November 16th, so it'll be just a short meeting to have everybody sworn in. And then November 23rd will be a regular council meeting at 5 p.m. And they will both be at 5 p.m., November 16th and November 23rd.
And in between those times, there'll be training for the new council, a weekend of training, and then later on some more training for the council too as we progress forward with our training plans to ensure the council is trained. Mr. Bailey.
Can I say one more that's
Sure,
totally
yeah,
off
yeah.
base? It is my mother-in-law's 97th birthday today.
Oh, well.
And I couldn't get to see her, but I just want to wish I'm her favorite son-in-law, so I want to remain that way. So happy 97, Grandma.
Aren't you her only son-in-law?
Yeah, I am, but thanks for bringing that up.
And with that, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.